The video captures the facade of happiness, but our sorrows remain undocumented. Migration is the hardest thing in the world. That and coming out. I spent a long time struggling for my father's approval. The man who equated being gay with being a drug addict or a murderer. For years I rejected Abu. I questioned his choices. How did my once joyous and cosmopolitan father go from this guy to this guy? I couldn't talk to him about anything personal. Could I love my father and could he love me despite our differences?
Abu never discussed Arshad being gay with me. He always called it his choice of lifestyle.
From my point of view, it's just a rebellious thing. And I always expected him to change himself for the better.
Abu once told me that there are no gays in Pakistan. For years, I was so angry at him for failing to protect me, for failing to nurture my strength to fight back. I just needed to be understood. It's a love story, as one of the great Canadian filmmaker Mike Polboon put it. And I never realized that before. But really it's a love story because it's about two men looking for a place called home, you know, that elusive place called home, always on the move. My father, of course, was an orphan in pre-partition India, and then the partition happened, and all of a sudden he had to become a refugee and move to Pakistan. And then from Pakistan, we all moved to Canada. And then, so he was a twice migrant, and I was, a migrant only once. And so we have like so many similarities between my father and I. But I spent most of my life really despising him for many reasons, which I list in the film. And then after he died, I was making a 5-minute video for his memorial, and I realized that, my goodness, there's a lot more that's here that I could really use, because my family is so well documented. My father loved cinema, loved documenting home movies, loved photography. So then I realized there's a much bigger story here, so I really should examine it. And I did not think that I would be so extremely upset after his death as I was. So that was the impetus to examining this relationship and making it. This is my first film, and even though I am a film curator and programmer, I still had a lot of learning to do when I came to the festival circuit. I never thought I would be shortlisted or whatever for Sundance, but that was really exciting, that was wonderful. The film wasn't ready. So those are the hard knocks of life that you have to go through, So I had to keep going back to the editing room. I picture locked, then unlocked, then locked it again, and I had to keep working on the film over and over again. But that's something you just have to do with some films, that you don't. I was lucky that I was able to do it, and I kept working on it until it came to a spot where I could say, okay, yes, now I'm very happy with it. But it's a lot of films like a jigsaw puzzle, there's a lot of switching things around, changing things, rewriting, reworking stuff, especially a film like mine, and it's a very personal documentary, and it's a mosaic documentary. I've got home videos, I've got animation, I've got Bollywood and Hollywood clips. The reason I did all that, the reason I got so creative with it is because most families only record the pleasantries of life, right? You don't record the difficult and tough moments of life. So I had to get creative, but that also helped the film. Really, filmmaking, good films come out of a lot of pain and struggle and a lot of work. Films are very, very difficult medium. This film took me 5 years to make, literally, and 2.5 really intense, but the rest also like it was a very difficult and long project. I'm using family, shared art, shared heritage, shared stories. I had to invisibilize some family members because I knew they would give me a lot of grief and trouble. The ones that have seen the film love it, including my mother, which I was very, very nervous about. You know, I haven't made a controversial film, you know. I haven't misrepresented him. You know, I've tried to make a very objective film. Everything I've said, none of my brothers or sisters will say, well, he never said that, or that didn't happen, because it did happen, right? And also I'm making a documentary, and I have to be objective. And I'm not trying to force my perspective on an audience. I'm saying this is my perspective, this is their perspective, and this is the human condition of struggle and negotiation of relationship, right? Through communication or lack of. But in the end, our father loved attention, so I always laugh that, you know, that he would have just been very proud that he's been given a platform, you know, because I'm nobody, he was nobody, my parents, my family's nobody, but I have, through my film, kind of given him immortality. The film has been seen only in festivals, and the people who have come to see the film are a certain kind of person. Because the people really, I think, who need to see the film are not coming to see it so far, I think. Because, you know, if it says gay, they won't come. If it says Muslim, they won't come. You know, but if they Pakistani, you know, so, but if they do come, and there's some people who know nothing about it, or who are kind of skeptical about these identities, have come, and they have just said to me that they are moved, you know, and some people brought their parents, and parents love this movie. I'm really amazed at how much young people and parents are loving the film, you know, and some people want to open their minds and learn new things, or, you know, have questions, and they want them answered, and this film does it. So, you know, I'm hoping it's not about preaching to the choir, but it's about people watch it and there's a catharsis that they go through, right? Everyone has a parent. So at the heart of it, it's really a child and parent story. It's about a child struggling to find acceptance from a parent. And so everyone can relate to it. This film is not just relatable for queer or LGBT or Muslim or Pakistani, South Asian. It's really, what I've noticed the most is that all across the board people are moved by the film. And that's amazing. You see, in Pakistan, you don't have this panic of faith or culture or identity, right? Because everyone's like pretty much the same. When you come to Canada or the West, then you have this panic where you're like, oh my God, you're losing your children. They're going to marry outside of the religion. They're not going to have, or outside of the culture, and they won't have the same values. Like, you know, you get really panicky and defensive. So that's what basically you know, happens. My mother had a cycle, actually. So she, after his death, she became very, very, very conservative and very, very like kind of, she was going through grief, you know. But now she's moderated out a little bit more. You know, people go through these cycles, and they're never nobody's a static person. People change, and that's what happened with my mom too. I did not make a sensationalist film because I don't believe in that. I made a film to help heal and to help others heal. So I stuck to the issue and not to the people who did it. And I did confront the abusers in my life, and I forgave them because I understood their condition and what they're suffering and what they're going through also. And I realized that this negativity I need to let go of and move ahead. And so I stop worrying about them. Oh my goodness, there's so much I would say to myself at 14, but the most important thing that I would say to myself is to stop lying now and be honest to myself. And I would say, just tell yourself the truth and just do what you love. That's what I would say. I would say do what you love, not what others think you must do. That's the most important advice I would give myself. I spent a long time doing what other people wanted. Such a waste.